Greetings and welcome to another video, and in this one today we are going to be doing episode 5 of Passion for Games, and in this one we are doing the ST version of Driller. Now this is not a game I've ever really looked at before because I only ever used to load the Commodore 64 version for the Matt Gray music, which incidentally you'll be hearing underneath this entire video because it's a great piece of music. With me as always is my friend Jeff, SasaMisa1806. Hello mate.
Oh, hello there everybody.
So yeah, Driller on the ST. The ST is not a machine that I deal with much anymore, but obviously it's going to move faster than the Commodore 64 version, so yeah. What is it about it you like?
To be honest, this was the last Freescape game, bar one, that I ever played. I actually played Castle Master first. Mate at work lent it to me essentially. Castle Master and the Crypt, it was double pack. And wasn't even aware of Driller until years later when, actually I think it was about a year later when I bought the quad pack which had the 4 Freescape games on it, and Driller was one of them. The first time I ever heard about Driller was like you, the music. My brother recorded it on tape, listened to it in the car one day, and James told me about it.
Yeah, definitely inspired by Halloween, I think. We've spoke about that in the past.
Yeah, definitely. It's a blinding piece of music. 2 versions as well, slow and fast. My brother actually prefers the slow version. I prefer the one that was shipped with the game, which was slightly quicker.
Yeah, I prefer the faster version. Well, that's the one that I'm going to be laying underneath this, so.
But yeah, as I said, this was kind of the last one I finished. I mean, the first one I finished was the Crypt, because it was the only one that would copy. When I borrowed this pack off of my mate, he said try and copy the discs. And I did. Castle Master would not copy. So I kind of tuned out to that. I remember saying to him at work, it's not like Dungeon Master, is it? He says, no, it's a completely different type of game. You know, it's a first-person shooter type game, but albeit a very basic one. But the Crypt copied, and eventually I just got bored with Dungeon Master, and I came back to the Crypt and I played it. Thought it was a pretty good game after I finished it, so I went out and got this quad pack. Eventually went through the gamut of games. I think I did Crypt first, Castle Master second, Total Eclipse third, and Driller last. Now Driller, I think the problem with Driller is knowing where to drill.
Well, you can now show us, so. That's more shooting than drilling at the moment.
Yeah. Driller, I mean, the basic story behind the game is like EVAF has 2 moons. EVAF was low on resources, so essentially they mined these 2 moons for resources, but the trouble is they went a bit too, environmental destruction essentially, and Mitral, which is one of the moons, essentially is about to explode, so you've been sent there to relieve the gas. So the idea is to basically relieve 50% of the gas in each of the 18 sectors. I'm actually in sector Nikolai here, which is just outside where you started in Amethyst.
Right.
Nikolai is a funny sector because you have to drill in almost exactly the right place or it won't even give you 50%. I'm pretty sure I get 100 here. Yeah.
Oh, nice going.
You get it bang on. Nikolai is a sector that can kill you instantly. You touch any of those mines there, you are basically dead instantly. Shields don't protect you from them. If you go across the edge there, they won't shoot you. Right, Amethyst has got a great big cross in it, so you know exactly where to drill there. Yes. Switches can be shot to open doors. As you've noticed already, some things can be destroyed. If you sit around in any one sector for too long, a satellite that's orbiting Mitral will shoot back at you, which you have to shoot down. Or you can just simply run out of sector. Lapis lazuli, you drill just outside where those pyramid shapes were, which I've done here. You only need 50%. Now you can muck about and with the step size, you can see that 250 and 15 degrees.
Yeah.
Just under the compass. You can mess around and try to get 100% of the gas. That'll just get you a better score. but you only really need to get 50%. You do get defences that shoot back at you, like that gun now. You can turn that one round by shooting it. Here you can go up on this lift by shooting those two switches. Don't fall off. If you fall any distance, that's it. Nasty fall, tank destroyed. This you just keep shooting that until that crystal appears, and there's a hidden door behind there.
There's a lot of hidden stuff in this game,
Yeah.
isn't there?
That's why I didn't complete Driller, because Driller has got a lot of puzzles, a lot of hidden sections, and you need to know exactly where to drill. Now, sometimes I think half the sectors it's kind of obvious, and the other half you ain't got a clue. You literally have to just keep practicing, keep drilling until you get the right location. Unfortunately, you got limited energy and shields. If your shields fall to 0, your tank's destroyed. If your energy falls to 0, your tank shuts down, resulting in the game over.
Yeah, standard.
The actual location for that drill, that particular rig there, is right on top of that wall. But you don't need to do that. It's the same as here. You shoot these 3 wires to cut the energy supply off to the laser gun that's actually over the doorway in the building to the side of you there. The drill, well, the rig goes there.
I should imagine this was a lot easier looking at the control buttons there to play this with a mouse rather than a joystick on the 8-bits. I mean, did this come out on the other 8-bits other than the 64, like the Spectrum
Yes,
and the Amstrad?
It did come out on the Spectrum. I'll mention that actually. I watched the Spectrum playthrough before I played this. Essentially, he did things in his playthrough that I didn't know about the game. This sector here, for instance, basalt. I knew about this bit. This bit, if you shoot the bottom one, they all disappear and you get less points, so shoot them in that order. But you see that arrow, it's giving you a clue there's a hidden door there. And another switch to shoot. The switches are all, there's 4 of them hidden in various locations, and they are needed to, I think it deactivates the shield on a later section. But this bit here, you can get up on this block. I used to drill on one corner and it would just about give you 50%, but no, you can actually mount one side of the block. I never realised that. The block is actually lower on one side, and that's what I saw in the Spectrum playthrough.
Yeah, well, as usual, I'll put up some of the 8-bit ones in the corners, so show people what they look like if they haven't seen them.
Those switches there basically open the various doors. That T you saw off to the left there, that's what those switches activated. It activates the teleport system.
Gotcha.
Got this bit here, where the arrows line up is where you drill. Right, this sector here basically houses the shuttle bay. Now you need the shuttle for a couple of puzzles, because obviously the tank can't fly, whereas the shuttle can. Now the shuttle can't drill, so you need to solve the puzzles that require the shuttle, then go back and get I think they call it a probe actually. Well, that's sector ruby. Do not shoot that ruby in the center. If you do, it will fire back continuously and it never stops.
Alright, that's going to result in a rather quick game over then, I'll take it.
Game over. Right, that's the K4 complex. You need the shuttle to get in there in order to shoot that. That is required to, I think that activates something elsewhere in the game. There's a gun on the other side of here, which I'm pretty sure I have trouble shooting. Just run for the minute.
Yeah, just leg it past it.
But there's 2 main things you need to do with the shuttle, the K4 complex, and make that floating block there disappear, because that's where you drill. If you don't remove that block, you can't drill, which means you can't clear this sector. This bit I'm doing here, you don't need to do this bit in the shuttle, but I find it's a bit easier to line up this shot with a shuttle than it is with a probe. Basically, it'll make a switch appear on the wall in the background when it clicks, like that. All those switches are needed to turn off the shield at Oka.
Alright, so you literally, each sector kind of interacts with previous and later sections. Oh, that's handy to know.
Yeah, don't shoot the nose, only shoot the eyes. If you shoot the nose, the eyes start firing again.
Yes, there's a lot more to this game than I ever thought, because of how slow it was on the 64.
Yeah.
Other than loading it for the music, I've never given it a second thought. And you know, there is a hell of a lot more to this than I ever knew about.
It's a lot more complicated than its sequel, Dark Side. Dark Side you can complete in about 10 minutes. Very basic game. I finished the 64 version of Driller, but only after I'd played it on the Amiga a lot and I knew exactly what to do.
Yeah, it probably took you a week longer on the 64 as well. Although saying that,
it's certainly slow.
Yeah, I saw a video. Someone's got the ultimate 64 board that's made by Gideon's Logic. I think they're about €250, and it's like an FPGA complete replacement motherboard. And he was able to turn it up to 40 megahertz. And I think the sweet spot for this game was like 8 megahertz, so 8 times faster on the Commodore 64. And it was smoother even than this and had a much higher frame rate. So if you've got one of them for the 64 and you fancy playing an 8-bit version, that's the way to do it.
It certainly helped with all the Freescape games, because Castle Master did come out on the 64 as well, and so did Sphinx Jinx, the sequel to Total Eclipse, which the 16-bits never got.
I'm glad you said Sphinx Jinx, by the way, because I was talking to Lucosa yesterday at the time of recording, and we could not remember the name of that game, so thanks for that.
Total Eclipse 2. I watched the Spectrum playthrough of that as well. Those crystals I shot there basically give you your shield and energy back. But basically don't waste them. Castle Master has got a swimming pool section as well, and I'm pretty sure there's a puzzle, again, that involves draining the pool and actually going into it.
Well, you do find that with a lot of games, don't you? The sequels or games made by the same people often incorporate the same sort of puzzles in them. I mean, Tomb Raider is a massive example of that.
It's true. You don't want to fall into the pool, though. You basically can't fall any distance in this game. Any serious distance. If you do, that's it. Smashes your probe up and it's game over.
Yeah.
You don't get lives in this. I suppose the other thing worth mentioning as well is the colours. The ST and Amiga version, it's like, let's show off the palette of the ST and the Amiga. I mean, the 64 version, it did look more like a drilling platform. You know, with its greys and browns, and I think it was one time when the 64 version looked superior.
Yeah, it was coloured well on the 64. I mean, this one is, I don't know, this is like, I'd imagine, a psychedelic space trip.
It's true. I think Dark Side was a bit of an improvement. They did kind of tone it down a bit and make it look more like a drilling platform, not like an explosion in a paint factory. I mean, Dark Side is set on the other moon, Tricuspid. It's pretty much the same story, but rather than drilling in that game, you have to take down the Zephyr 1 super weapon that basically is going to destroy EVAF by disabling its energy systems.
Right, and this is where you destroyed that platform with the shuttle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I am paying attention.
I'm not sure what that small block I drove over at just a minute there was. I'm not sure if that's a switch or if it does anything in a later sector, but I did it anyway, just in case it was important. I mean, basically, if you get the drilling rig in the wrong place, you can take it back, but because it's a beaming process, it drains your energy. That path you're having to follow there is because that blue stuff drains your energy, and it drains it very quickly if you try to run over it. Yeah, that's basically an orbital defense. As I said, if you stay in a sector for too long, the orbital defenses will catch up with you and start shooting at you. They don't do very much damage. You see, like, they only don't drain the shield a little bit.
Yeah, but if you leave it to do that, it's going to mount up really quickly, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it's running out of energy that's the big problem in this game, not running out of shields. Because you only get a finite amount of energy in the whole game. I mean, shields, as long as you don't get hit, you're fine. But this one, you can just kill that to give you energy back. As soon as that block disappears, that's where you drill. So sometimes it's kind of obvious.
Yeah, it does help if you have played it a lot and you kind of remember as you go along and try. Yeah, I'd imagine there's quite a bit of trial and error the first time you play this.
Someone did ask me the other day, you know, how you're supposed to know that, like, you can go from amethyst to nicolite, and I replied, it shows you in the demo. If you actually watch the demo, you clearly see him put the rig down in amethyst, and then he drives into that black wall and ends up in the nicolite sector. I said, you didn't watch the demo, did you? You know, the demo tells you where to drill in 2 sectors. But yeah, admittedly, some of the later stuff, I actually forgot how to get into Sector 17. Completely forgot how to do it. And after I watched that guy's Spectrum play for it, it was like, ah. But yeah, Ruby is very, very touchy sector. You go off the edge of that platform and that's it. Thing is, you have to drill, I think you have to drill on one corner. I think this is the Ochre sector. Oh no, this is Opal. Yeah, you see, when you shot all those switches, it went black.
Yeah.
So it's turned the shield off on one wall, so now you can go through the wall. You drill in the corner. The signpost in the other corner gave you the coordinates for this one. So yeah, a very subtle, a not so subtle clue. But yeah, essentially shooting all 4 switches, these switches, it disables a wall that you can go through. And you end up in the diamond sector. But I couldn't remember how to do this.
My only real criticism of a game like this is the fact that they've given you this massive dashboard so they can kind of colour up the fact they need to make the screen area as small as possible so it runs with any speed.
Yeah. You get 2 crystals in this location that do give you a lot. I think they give you about 2 tanks worth of energy and shield. But don't shoot them, you bump into them and it basically makes your energy go back up, don't you? So essentially you can come back here if you need some more. They don't last forever though, you get about 2 tanks worth. So look, not so subtle clue. Make sure you go out the door here, don't go through the black, because if you do, straight off.
Yeah, I don't blame you for knocking your speed down a bit there.
Yeah, very touchy sector, Ruby. You don't want to use a super CPU on the 64 on this sector. Because you go straight off the edge. Dark Side was a bit different for this. In Dark Side you had a jetpack. You had limited energy, well you had limited fuel at the start, but you did have a jetpack, so you could pretty much fly wherever you wanted. Yeah, this is the Ochre sector. You see that shield that's across?
Yep.
Essentially, that's what the other switches did. They turned it off. So you can get over here. Otherwise, there's a shield across that and you can't pass through it. There's also a couple of mines on the floor to the left and right, and they will shoot at you. If you go to, you can just see that dot there. They will shoot back. You've got to be careful about putting the rig down here because it actually blocks your path, and if you haven't activated the teleport, there's no way out of the sector. You know, the teleport's a T. That teleports you between 4 different sectors, that does, so by bumping into it you can... I think I've done 16 sectors at this point. If you've done 16 sectors, when you do this one with a 17 on the wall, it will automatically disable the wall that's where the 17 is, but only if you've clicked all the switches. So you have to drill 17 sectors, pull all 4 switches, and drill in this sector, and then that wall will disappear. If it doesn't disappear, you've missed something.
Yeah, it's just remembering where to put everything.
Yeah, 99% success.
I mean, that's pretty spot on.
That's it. Don't go in through the front door. There's basically a gun turret in there waiting for you. Go in through the back door. Don't fall off the edge of the platform. Basically, the actual moon, it looks like a Rubik's snake when it's well put together. That's what it looks like. The position of the you can shoot the light and you can shoot the turret so it don't shoot you. I actually got ribbed over this game at work because I used to talk about it a lot, and you know, because it features a tank. I mean, in this, I used to use keyboard, you know, cursor keys and mouse to shoot. But I used to get ribbed at work with people saying, because I always used to go on about games like this that involve tanks, and they used to say, oh, you couldn't like drive a real tank, you probably think it's got a steering wheel. And it's like, no, I've played Battlezone, I've played Stellar 7. You know, I do know that a tank, you know, has tracks.
Yeah, I mean, how many of them had actually driven a tank? All right, just because you know how something works. I mean, I know the basics of a space shuttle. Doesn't mean I can bloody fly one.
It's true. Space shuttle on the Amiga was probably as hard to fly as the real thing.
That's it. I mean, I've been playing Elite Dangerous for the last 6 months, quite a lot. Does that mean I'm a spaceman now and I can fly spaceships? No. Some people, well, you get them all, don't you?
That's it. Trachyte is the last sector. Trachyte, you notice there was an invisible shield. That's what I was bumping against as I was trying to get round it. There's two shields with a gap between them, a very small gap, and you have to shoot that thing in the background to allow you through, and that's where you put the rig. And once you've done it, that's it. It shows you all the sectors you've drilled. I had trouble shooting that block, didn't I? I couldn't get it to fall on the gun turret. And basically, that's all 18 sectors.
You made that look so fucking easy.
It's not a very long game, you know, you can finish it inside 15 minutes once you know where to drill, and this is the point, isn't it? You need to know where to drill.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping to be able to show off the version that Ovine made in 2007, I think it was, with work from Trev's story on it, but I cannot get it to run on Windows 10 with any of the compatibility modes, so I'm going to have to put some pictures up. But that was quite a nice version, and I believe you have played that one.
Yeah, I've played it in the past. I never finished it because the puzzles are a little bit tougher. You have to drill 60% of the gas, and it doesn't include all 18 original sectors. It's only got 16 of them, I think. But it did introduce a few additional puzzles that wouldn't have been possible in the original game. But I tried to run it last week, didn't I, when we were talking on here?
Yeah.
And it ran, it would show the intro, and a third of the screen was all garbage graphics. Nothing I could do would cure it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't. I mean, you were trying that on a Windows 7 system. I tried it on 10, and it'd get one version would crash straight away, saying something about memory, and then the one after that I tried just got to the title screen, and when the loading bar went across, it just came up and said unable to play music, and nothing I could do would get it to work. So, you know, I know Trev's busy with loads of 64 stuff, so I didn't want to sort of say to him, yeah, this game from 2007, make it work for me so I can do a video, so it's just easier. I'll put some pictures up, and then, you know, you can see, but it's literally, you know, that era PC graphics. I mean, it does look quite nice.
Yeah, I think so. It certainly looked the business, and it did have like multi-level design as well, where you could drive up and down ramps and stuff. It was certainly impressive.
Yeah, especially for a free independent game as well. I mean, you know, some of these indie games, I mean, I see it all the time on the Commodore 64 and Spectrum, and some of the retro remakes. I mean, the only other version of Whizball, if you're not playing the 64 one, it's the PC one, or don't bother. You know, some of the retro remakes have got so much love and attention put into them. They are really, really good.
Yeah, you had a choice of two types of music as well, the remix and the original Matt Gray tune.
Yeah, the Matt Gray tune is legendary as far as I'm concerned. I mean, yeah, I mean, I recorded both versions of it when I was recording all of his tunes for one of his Kickstarters for his backers, and yeah, I prefer the quicker version myself. But there's nothing wrong with the slower version. I just got used to the quick version because I used to load the game up to listen to it.
Yeah, same here. The ST and Amiga versions missed out. Dark Side, you had the tune. No, they did include that.
Yeah, he's a definitely another game that requires a lot of thinking. There's a lot of, I suppose, again, it's a memory game, like all games do tend to be. But that one is more. There's a lot of lateral thinking in that one, as opposed to it all being handed to you on a plate.
Certainly. Not a lot of difference between the ST and Amiga versions as well. You know, they play the same, look the same. I think the Amiga had slightly clearer samples. The Amiga version ran a little bit slower, but they're comparable. I think in the past they used to run them side by side. You know, James playing one, me playing the other.
Yeah, it's definitely a game I should probably revisit. I mean, I never played the 16-bit versions, like I said earlier. You know, I basically got bored of how slow the 64 version was, and in the end, I just used to load it up for the music. And I mean, all right, that's no bad thing, because as we've said, it's a great piece of music.
It is. You know, Last Ninja 2 would be my favourite compilation of Matt Gray, but that's certainly up there.
Yeah. I mean, Last Ninja 2 is that is. I mean, that's nearly an hour of music. I mean, you know me, I like the heavy guitar version that the Fast Loaders did. You know, that is a complete soundtrack. I mean, it is literally. I think it's something like 50 minutes long if you play it from track 1 all the way to, I think it's track 13. You play it all the way through. It's a complete album.
It is. We used to take a whole side of a C90 in it.
Yeah, so about 45 minutes. And regardless of what anyone says, Matt Gray's stuff just sounds like a form of electronic metal to me. And you know me and metal, I do like it. It's got real crunchy sounds. Yeah, I love Matt Gray's music.
Yeah, The Basement was always my favourite tune.
I like Central Park.
Yeah.
Right, well that just about sums this one up then. So that is Driller, completed by SasaMisa1806 on the Atari ST. Thanks for joining me again, mate.
Yeah, not a problem.
And until the next video, thank you very much for watching, and laters.
Laters.